So how are we doing this, Tracy? So are we gonna do this like Zoom, or how do the people in the hallway fit in?
They're just here to listen.
Huh?
They'll be in the hallway just to listen, Brendan's, but the rest of this is entirely on Zoom. If there's a question from somebody there at PMC, I'm sure Tracy will find a way to let them speak.
Okay.
And we'll work from there. Welcome everybody to listen to the Dharma talk by our good friend, Brendan Kennedy, who comes to you all the way from Yucca Valley to teach us here tonight. The magic of the internet, that we are all closer than we think we are, which has just really been a great blessing, a great blessing. And there may be a couple of announcements from Tracy at the end of the program, and she will also post the link to the Brendan's retreat this weekend, which will be virtual. And take it away, Brendan.
So let's start out in silence. Silence of outer sound. Okay? When the outer sound is absent, we begin to notice the inner sound or chatter of our mind. See if we can start to experience the silence of mind. Inner silence. So, are you familiar with inner silence? If not, start to see what it means to you to be silent inwardly. What does it mean experientially for the mind to be silent. Start to be silent. So the silence of inner mind is the absence of inner chatter, absence of thought, thinking. Mind constantly moving, mind constantly occupied with something.
Brendan, we have a request for you to speak a little louder.
Sure. So the mind. When the mind is not lost in chatter, in thoughts, what does that feel like? So in order to realize the nature of mind, first of all, we have to kind of quiet the mind. When the mind is not quiet, when the mind is so busy, then there's no chance you're going to begin to see or experience what the mind is. In fact, that's why you don't know your mind. Because it's always busy being something else. So to start to be the mind, you have to stop being all the things that the mind is not. Mind is constantly engaged in outer objects, inner thoughts. Slow the mind down. Start to not go out to outer objects. Start to not follow whatever thoughts that arise, as we normally do. Not to follow, not to engage, automatically quiets the mind. When the mind stops being busy, lost in whatever is perceiving, feeling, and experiencing, automatically it can start to experience the natural peace, natural quietude, the natural silence of mind. So everybody likes peace and quiet, right? This is how you can get it. You through your own effort, without relying on any outside forces, you can start to experience this peace, calmness, well-being. We don't need any apps. So in one way, the meditation just can be simply not lost in anything. How about that? Normally, we're lost in whatever we see, perceive, feel, or experience. Not being lost doesn't mean that we don't see, feel, or experience. Just simply means we don't focus on them. We don't get lost in them. By just simply observing, objective observer, uninvolved observer, but still noticing. Just that can be the meditation. Actually, that's the meditation on mind. Without the word mind. Because seeing, feeling, and experiencing is none other than mind. So when you're not lost in what you're seeing, feeling, and experiencing, you're automatically being the mind without being lost or distracted to anything. As it says, we're no longer being the monkey mind. Monkey mind is the mind that is distracted, always distracted to something. So this is how we can start to be peaceful and calm. By simply not getting lost, involved, or worked up by anything. But we can still observe and feel and experience without getting lost in them. That's what you're simply observing. Without being lost in what you're observing will lead you to. So take a break for a moment. I want to find out, am I communicating or am I not? Is this what I'm saying about you full of hot air or BS or what? Do you feel what I'm saying? Do you experience what I'm saying? Does it have any value? So I'm trying to make meditation simple as possible in everyday language. No prerequisites are necessary. That's how simple meditation can be. But we have to believe that. See, a lot of us have this preconception of meditation. Oh, meditation, special. Actually, very simple. If you know how to meditate, it's so simple, deceptively simple. So my next question is, so what do you feel or experience when you try or doing what I'm asking you or what I'm communicating? See, the reason why I asked the question, you see, is there's a certain part of us that first understands, and that's kind of at a surface level, you know? And we just leave it at that. But when you actually are confronted to express your experience exactly the way you experienced, you have to go deeper. And it becomes more, actually, it becomes more real for you. This is, we don't leave it at the superficial level. That's why I asked. There's a certain response from people. And also to break the ice, to feel more relaxed, you know. When you speak, you're communicating with a group, not just between you and me. Does that make sense? So is this an unfair question? So just tell me in your own words.
Hey, Brendan, this is Chris. So what I experience in the beginning of this instruction here, focusing on the silence is, that wonderful peacefulness, that peaceful silence out of which everything is coming. It has a source quality to it. And then there's a quality of just, being awake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, we don't, because that is so obvious, that is so present, we don't even notice. But that's the door. You see, we just have to get deeper into that. We become more that. It goes deeper automatically. That's how we start to deepen our meditation. Instead of looking for new things or something else. That's one of the secrets of meditation, is going deeper what you already have, instead of constantly looking for some new thing or new meditation. So how many of you are new here? I'm curious. Raise your hand. Oh, just one person? Two? Oh, and Bodhi. The picture's not on there. I mean, here. Yeah.
Hey, Brendan's Julie.
Hmm.
And for me, the great joy is when I'm lost in something and then I realize I'm lost.
Right.
And it's like, oh, I don't have to do all that. Getting worked up or all this kind of stuff that it's just, I could just quit. It's like, oh, just come back. I'm not lost. I was never lost. But I did a good job of convincing myself that I was lost.
Well,
So,
we've been conditioned, Julie. It's not
Yeah.
all your fault either.
oh,
You can lay some of the blame on the karma. I don't know what good that'll do you, but
but it's so much nicer to be not lost.
of course. But you see, the words you use, the way you describe, it's so obvious. Most of us can't see that, believe it or not. Because a lot of us think, because of our preconceptions, meditation is something more. You think you can't just be simply observing. Come on. There has to be something more. You know, I'm spending all my time, effort, and energy just for this. So instead of, see that those are our preconceptions. So we got to cut through our preconceptions, our ideas. But you have to give yourself a chance. Actually do the meditation. Meditation, if you're simply observing, we're going to do it right now. Just observe without being lost, taken away, distracted by what you're observing. That's all you have to do. Really start to observe without getting lost in what you're observing. I said just simply observe, not trying to observe this or that. Okay? Just simply observe what you're observing. That's all. See, doing this simple practice, many things are happening that you don't know, but you don't need to know. By simply doing the practice, it is happening, and you will start to experience the results of that. Just relax and observe. No need to strain yourself. See, when we just observe, we're observing everything, but we're not observing something as we normally do when we observe. Normally, when we observe, we're observing this or that. But here, we're just simply observing. Observing all that, but not getting lost. In anything that we're observing. If you're not clear, tell me. So if you're clear, just keep on doing the practice.
Go ahead, Nina.
When you get a little lost, how is it? How do you manage? What's your recommendation for coming back and just observing?
Remind yourself. Simply remind yourself, I'm just observing. That's all you have to
Okay.
do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. That's all you have to do. That's how you refresh, we start over. See, our habit is our attention is only good for a certain amount of time because it's a habit that automatically starts to go here and there. That's all you have to do. Just every time, just simply remind yourself. Just observing. I mean, you know what that is. You know, you don't need anybody to explain to you what is observing. Just observing. That's what observing is. But you see, we understand superficially and intellectually, but we don't really understand experientially until you start to really do it. So that's why I'm glad you asked the question. Otherwise, you know, we just think we got it, but when the test comes, you didn't get it. Does that make sense? See, that's what I mean. It's so simple and obvious. We automatically overlook, you know. Yeah, as I always say, only difference between a Buddha or the awakened one and most of us, they just simply notice that we don't notice, which is always there. They're seeing the same thing we're seeing, but we don't notice most of the stuff that we're really seeing. So what I'm saying has many different levels. I mean, how much simpler can an instruction be? Meditation instruction. Huh? Just simply observe without getting lost in what you're observing. Then I further clarify, how do we not get lost? By not focusing, not going out towards the object, not trying to see what the object is, but just simply seeing. Not trying to define the object. But just simply seeing. So what is happening when we're just simply seeing, not being lost in anything? Automatically, we're being our mind, which we want to realize. That's who we are. So that may not make much sense to a beginner, but other people, those of you who are here, that makes a lot of sense. But don't worry about it. But what it does is just simply observing and not getting lost in what you're observing. You can begin to start to experience the natural qualities of the mind, which is peaceful, quiet, and feeling good. See, those are all natural qualities of the mind. See, we're not making it up. When we meditate, you may think you're making it up, but you're not. What you're doing is creating the condition for it to start to self-manifest, which is all already there. So some of you newer people or older people, so do you notice a difference by the simple meditation? Just observing without being lost in what you're observing? You feel any difference than you normally do when the mind is constantly going out towards what it's seeing, feeling, and experiencing?
Go
I
ahead,
feel like
Liz.
the monkey, I feel like the monkey brain, when I'm just observing and sitting back, it's easier to see the monkey brain trying to come up and get my attention.
Right. Yeah. Monkey wants to grab.
Yeah.
Constantly goes after. It can't just be. Is that the way you want to be?
No, really, no. No.
Is that what brings you peace?
Calm and observing out in nature. And
Yeah. So you get a more genuine observation of the nature when you just simply see, and what you're allowing to do, you're allowing the nature to start to show itself instead of you trying to paint it with all your ideas and preconceptions what it is. Right? Then you're
yes,
not going to see
yes.
you're not going to see the secret. You're not allowing the secret of nature to reveal itself. When you start to make things up, when you start to paint what you're seeing, you can't see what is already there. So anybody else?
Well, for me, Brendan, when I'm just observing, it's interesting because things get, there's more detail to something and it has like an enhanced quality. And yet there's much less comment on all of that.
That's exactly the way it should be.
Mhm.
Yeah. Every nature, everything is already perfect. It does not need our comments. It does not need our improvements, further insights to, make the difference and make it better. It's already perfect and complete. Can you buy that? No? Or should I say, can you dig it?
I have a comment. I think it's the first time I understood something that you've said. And the exercise, although I don't feel like it changed the way my meditation was, but what it did is it allowed me to kind of understand something that I've been doing for a long time with as far as the object that I use for meditation. And I'm not really realizing that I'm not really focusing on the object.
Mhm.
But yet I use it as a
No, it's a
focus.
support. That doesn't mean you have to get rid of the object. So we use the object as a support. It's great. You should use whatever support you have. See, that's what you have to be clear about. So that's good. Use the object. And it acts as a support. It helps you. Use the object, but don't get lost in the object. Don't get pulled into the object. Just observe the object. See, this is one type of meditation. There's another type of meditation that says focus on the object, totally focus on the object so your mind doesn't go anywhere else. But it's two different ways of doing the same thing. So that's good, John.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, this method, just observing, is much more peaceful and spacious. It's not like it's like like a lazy, relaxed person style, whereas totally focused is more like a Marine style. Or what do you call the SEALs, or Green Beret, or I mean, how wonderful. Took me so many years to find out, you don't have to strain yourself. You can just relax and just observe. Wow. I didn't know this could be this easy, this enjoyable. But the trick is, don't forget, you still have to do the practice. Yeah. So I'm glad you see that. Well, since I'm a lazy person, I try to make the meditation the easiest and the most enjoyable. So everybody in the hallway, are they still there? Did everybody leave? Any comments from the the meditation room? Nobody? Are you still alive in the meditation room? Okay. Let me, oh, there, I can see more now. Yeah, it just seems so, I don't know.
Brendan,
Who is speaking?
Alexandria. Hi, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. This this observing practice,
Yeah.
as you just had us do it, it felt so good. And then I realized that I was doing the non-focusing, that it just kind of naturally went into that. And I don't know if
Exactly.
you're wanting me to bring
It
that up.
is. It is.
Yeah.
It's no different.
Yeah.
When you're just observing, you're automatically non-focusing. When you're non-focusing, you're automatically just observing. Exactly.
Yeah, and it's very powerful, and not to get too gelupa on it, but again, one of the countless blessings of this non-focusing or just observing practice is you're simply just staying with the appearance. You're not going to any apprehending. You're just merely staying with the appearance.
Yeah.
And there's a lot there. So thank you.
Yeah. Not only that, you're being that. When we just observe, we automatically start to be what we're observing, which means it automatically becomes non-conceptual and non-dual. Yeah. Now all that happens without you being conscious of trying to make that happen. You see? That's why, as we go further into it, clarify more, we just see how obvious and easy it is, but we have to go through this. Yeah.
As you say, the secret of practice is practice.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yeah, I forget. I have to remind myself. So everybody got that? Everybody wants to know, what's the secret? What's the secret? How can I succeed in my practice? What's the magic formula? Magic formula is practice. Yeah. So what is practicing? When we're just practicing. Practicing is the mind. That's the secret formula. See, the goal is, if we want to become Buddhas, all of us want to become eventually become Buddha. That's what being awakened means. To become the awakened one, the Buddha. Awakening is none other than realizing and becoming the nature of mind, which all of us are. They say we all have Buddha nature. That's what it's meant. And that's all these different practices lead to that. You know, if we don't get stuck in any particular practice, all the practice just simply leads to that. All right, I want to change the subject. So, how many of us here have heard the statement or something like it? We are our worst enemy. Oh, good. So how can that be? Come on, tell me. You raised your hand, now you tell me. How you experience that? So
Because it's the illusion of our brain or our mind observing out, not observing, but being out there and not just observing.
Mhm. Good.
Getting caught up with the monkey, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So I want to hear from others, you know, I mean, everybody raised their hand. Now tell me, how have you experienced this saying, we are our worst enemy? Yes, sorry.
Identifying with my own thoughts and my own emotions, and just getting swept up by them, and the chain reaction begins of reacting to things and making you stirring up things, stirring up new emotions, stirring up new thoughts, and being sort of caught up in all that
Mhm.
role.
So you're saying your karmic predispositions and your habits and your conditioning, actually your enemies, right?
Well, when I get caught up with that, if I don't notice,
Right. I mean, when they take over, when they lead you to all the trouble that you don't want to be in,
right,
then they become our enemy. So anybody else? How do you experience yourself as being enemy of yourself? In what instances? How? What about when you end up doing something that you really didn't want to do and that led you into a lot of trouble? Have we had that kind of experience? Anybody?
Yeah, Brendan. So, I've shared this before here, but I spent years as a drunk, just constantly doing exactly what I really didn't want to do, thinking that that's what I wanted to do, but then wanted hurting me, causing a tremendous amount of suffering, not just physical suffering, but just suffering through and through. And as I look back on it, it's really just founded in just believing that I'm me, believing that I'm something solid, and that I need to either protect myself or satisfy my needs or desires or to protect myself in some way, all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
So you could say, in a way, leaving that the I or me is really real.
To kind of add
So
on.
if it, so one moment, excuse me. So if it is so real, then how does it cause so much problem for us? Because no one wants suffering, right? There's something wrong here. What we think, what we perceive is real, is not really real. In a lot of instances, what we think that's going to help us doesn't really help us. You've also heard this common saying, doing the same mistakes and expecting different results. The real enemy of ourselves is our afflictions, negative emotions, our delusions, our grasping, our attachment, which blinds us. Those are our real enemies. And they are very part of us at this moment. You see that? Anybody here doesn't see that? You're not suffering from any of those afflictions, negative emotions, anger, fear, ignorance. Someone here who is free from all of that?
Not free, Brendan, not free, not free. But I'm wondering if sometimes we grasp towards Buddhist principles. Sometimes I'm wondering about myself, because I've heard this statement recently that I thought was illuminating my path, which is that not to look for more than is already present in a situation like with others. And that has been helping me. And then I think sometimes need I flip that a little bit and see if there's still grasping, or, as I work with that idea. And I find it really helpful to me, but so.
Good.
But you hear my question for you, I guess, is when we're working with a concept that's helpful to us like that, like we think we've got a really helpful concept or something, can that, how do we work with, so we're not ensnared with that too?
I don't understand your question.
I'm sorry, I guess I. Okay, so this concept of don't look for more than is already present.
Yeah,
Okay. That when I go into a meeting,
hold on a minute. That statement, don't look for anything more than what is present.
don't grasp, I guess, is the
I
concept.
don't grasp, okay. all
Don't
right.
grasp for more, like if it's a family.
How do you know? Are you there on that? What is already there? What is
Well,
already?
okay, so
So
well-
if you don't know that, how can you really do that?
if I don't know what,
Don't grasp any more than what is there.
I'm not sure that I understand your question of me.
Okay. No, I'm just saying, he said simply don't grasp more than what is there.
Yeah,
How do we know how to not grasp when we don't know exactly what is there? Or do you know exactly what is there?
well, so when you're with another person, whether it's an intimate relationship or not so much at all, I don't think you do always at all. You're not that other person,
Right.
but you do yourself. It's also the concept, I think, of creating a space for interdependent arising or something, if I've ever understood that, which is like creating the context where space can be, where love can be, where real emotions can be, and be safe and be heard and all of that. And somewhere in that, it seems to me, to do that, one has to go into it without grasping to be secure always. That one is not, in other words, it's if you're looking to know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, Janet. But the problem is we may not be grasping consciously, but most of us are grasping unconsciously.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Thank you. So I asked, how many of us are really free from those negative emotions or those afflictions that I've been talking about? So those are our enemies, but that's only the half of it, part of it. We can't get lost in that. We can also be our best friend. We can be our best friend. You want to know how? Number one, all you have to do is just stop being all the things that your enemy. Stop being your enemy. Stop being the enemy. Stop paying attention, spending time on your afflictive emotions, and start spending more time on bodhicitta, love and compassion. We all have that. Start cultivating those qualities. They are in us. We are that, just as we are the negative, we are the positive. But we have to spend time. We have to work at it. So when you prove this to your own experience. When you really start to open up, when you start to really connect with somebody closely, don't you feel that power? Wow. That natural goodness, it's indescribable. That's how we can be our best friend. More we can be our best friend, the less we're going to be our enemy. That's why bodhicitta is so emphasized in the practice. Bodhicitta is our best friend. Unfeeling best friend. The 3 poisons, 5 kleshas, they are our enemies. The more time you spend with your enemies, the more you're going to suffer. So really, this is where you have the choice. Again, we have to work at it. It just won't happen by itself. That's the practice. We are free to do that. There's the saying in the 4 turnings by Sogyo Rinpoche, where it says, unalterable are the laws of karma. Cause and effect cannot be escaped. So if we just take that too literally, we're screwed. Cause and effect cannot be escaped, but it can be changed. Okay? We're not totally determined by our karma. That's the good news. But not so good news is we have to pay for karma. You can't get up free. Not only we can change our karma, but we can cut right through. So don't be stuck in your enemies, in your enemy. Spend more time with your friend. So a simple question is, do we have a choice? So here again, we have a choice. Do we want to be our worst enemy, or do we want to be our best friend? Huh? Really?
Best friend.
Yes.
Best friend.
Yeah. But you see, there's a price. That's the I don't know how to say it. That's the price. So what's the price? Anybody? What's the price?
Practice.
Exactly. Effort. Practice. Can't be done without it. That's all you have to do. But there are many other practices that helps you, that inspires you, that makes it easier. That you learn that through your own practice, your own experience, and from the teachers. But first, you have to make that decision. Then it becomes clear and easy. And you just have to be, kind of consistent. 1 minute, oh yeah, I want to be my best friend. Next minute, no, I want to spend more time with my enemies. All right, I've said enough. So any comments or questions?
Just briefly, Brendan, you were just saying how, we need to cut through the afflictions. And it definitely appears that my computer might die. But it definitely, this simple observing practice
Yeah,
is a gentle cutting through.
yeah, it is.
Yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah,
That it is a gentle cutting through, that we're not engaging with our affliction.
it's a slow cutting through.
It's a slow
But
cutting,
we don't notice it as much.
and it's also purification.
So of course it is.
Yeah, so it's just
When you just observing what it does, number one, it automatically changes the way you've been being. Way most of us been being is being constantly lost in what we perceive, feel, and experience. So when we just simply observe, that stops. What does that do? That automatically purifies the perception. You know, you don't have to burn 10 tons of wood to purify, you know, you just, how nice it is just to observe, and you're purifying the mind automatically.
I have a question. You were saying in when you just observe, eventually you become the thing that you're observing by not.
Yeah,
Can you say more about that?
sure. So when we observe, most of us in our distracted state, we become what is observed, and we get lost in what we're observing. And we forget about the observer or the mind. That's what happens when we're distracted. That's what the monkey does. Monkey observes and forgets. It's just totally into observing. Totally becomes what it's observing. But that's not how we want to become what we're observing, what I'm saying. What I mean by you will become what is observed is when we start to observe, simply observe, without making anything, any comment, any definition out of what we're observing. The observing, what is observed just remains as it is. And we're observing. When we don't focus, we don't make something out of what we're observing. What we're observing doesn't become anything that is separate from the observer. So when you just simply keep on observing, automatically the duality or the difference between the observer and the observed begins to disappear. Unless you consciously are conscious of the observer and the observer constantly, yeah. But when we're just simply observing without being conscious of the observer or the observed, then automatically they start to become one. They start to become non-dual. You've heard of oneness, right? Okay, this is how we can start to become one. Just be that without being anything. You will become that. You will become one. That's another way of saying it. See, we're here in a way, we're really mixing the most rudimentary, elementary practice with the most advanced or difficult practice. Not difficult, most advanced practice. You know. But don't get stuck on the rudimentary and advanced. You know. That's just it's a kind of a guideline, you know. It helps you. But doesn't help you if you get stuck in it. That makes sense to you, Nina?
Yes, yes, it does. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Julie, whoever is the dedication. Well, I'll just do it, okay? By the power of this practice, may our real enemies, our own confusion and misdeeds from our ignorance be overcome and our true nature fully realized, so that we may free beings from miseries of delusions, afflictions, negative emotions, anger, and fear. The endless stormy waves, the ocean of samsara. May the pure and brilliant sun of bodhicitta dawn in each and every heart and mind, dispelling the darkness of suffering and confusion, unstoppably until all are fully illumined and awakened. Thank you all.
Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you, Brendan.
Thanks, Brendan.
Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you, Brendan.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
very
you, PNC, for putting this on. Thank y'all.
And we did post the links to register for the weekend, and there will be recordings available afterwards. And I hope to see you there. It's amazing how deep this stuff can go when you realize that not only are you focusing all the time, but you're focusing on the wrong things. So this is a great exploration. Bye, everybody.
you.